On the weekend, Dad Pig promises to take the two sisters to buy toys.
Yahoo!
The family arrives at a colorful toy store. Little Pig runs to the toy car section. Big Sister Pig chooses a building block set. Dad Pig agrees to buy one toy for each child. The family brings the toys to the checkout counter. The cashier announces the total amount. Dad Pig checks one pocket, then another. He realizes his wallet is not with him. Little Pig's eyes widen. Dad Pig remembers leaving the wallet on the table at home. Little Pig looks at the toy sadly. Mom Pig gently explains they need to go back home first. Little Pig slowly places the toy back on the shelf. The family leaves the store. On the way home, Dad Pig apologizes for forgetting. Big Sister Pig suggests checking pockets before leaving next time. Little Pig nods in agreement. At home, Dad Pig finds the wallet on the table. Dad Pig holds up the wallet. The family decides to return to the toy store. Little Pig runs inside with excitement.
Yippee!
This time, Dad Pig pays successfully. A small mistake can delay a happy plan, but staying calm and fixing it together brings the joy back again.
Sweet honey. One sunny afternoon, the older sister and her little brother went into the garden to catch butterflies. Suddenly, while chasing a bright yellow butterfly, they unknowingly came close to a beehive hanging from a tree branch. A small noise disturbed the bees, and in an instant they swarmed out, buzzing loudly. Frightened, the sister and brother screamed and ran as fast as they could, their hearts pounding, not daring to stop until they finally reached home. Breathless, they told Dad what had happened. Instead of scolding them, Dad smiled thoughtfully. After a moment, he came up with an interesting idea. He suggested that instead of being afraid of the bees, the family could plant lots of flowers near the beehive, so the bees would have plenty of nectar to collect. That way, the bees would stay busy around the flowers and be less likely to fly around wildly. And in time, the family might even enjoy fresh honey of their own. The next day, the whole family got to work together. Dad dug the soil, Mum planted the seeds, the sister watered the young plants, and the little brother carefully pulled out weeds. Before long, a colourful patch of flowers began to grow beside the beehive. When the flowers bloomed, the bees came buzzing back, gently flying from blossom to blossom, filling the garden with soft humming sounds and a sweet fragrance in the air. One day, Dad carefully collected a small amount so everyone could taste it. The smooth, sweet flavour melted in their mouths, and smiles spread across their faces.
One afternoon, Little Pig is playing alone in the bedroom. Little Pig opens an old book. A piece of paper falls out of the book. Little Pig's eyes widen. A red X is drawn on the map.
Yippee!
Little Pig puts on a hat and backpack. Little Pig sneaks into the yard. Big Pig sister notices and follows quietly. Little Pig compares the map with the yard. Little Pig counts each step. Pig stops near a tree. Little Pig starts digging. Dirt flies everywhere as Little Pig digs faster. Little Pig hits something hard.
Yeah!
Big Pig sister runs over. A small old box appears.
Wow!
Little Pig slowly opens the box. Inside are candies and old toys. Little Pig looks confused, then laughs. Mom and Dad Pig arrive. It turns out to be Mom and Dad's childhood treasure. The family sits together, looking through the box. Little Pig shares the candies with everyone. The greatest treasure is not gold or jewels, but imagination, laughter, and moments shared with family.
The best dad. In the morning, soft sunlight streamed through the window as Dad was busy sweeping the floor. Suddenly, the older sister came over and pointed at a picture on the wall that had tilted to one side, asking Dad to fix it. Dad smiled and picked up a hammer and a nail. In just a few minutes, the picture was hanging straight again, looking neat and perfect. The sister happily thanked him, and Dad gently patted her head. In the kitchen, Mum was cooking when thick smoke suddenly rose from the stove. Startled, she quickly called for Dad. Hearing her voice, Dad rushed in, turned off the gas. Mum let out a sigh of relief. Out in the yard, the little brother was playing with balloons when one slipped from his hands and floated high into the sky. He stood still, eyes welling up with tears. Dad quickly brought another balloon, carefully blew it up, and tied the string before handing it to him. The boy's face instantly lit up, and he hugged the new balloon as if it were a precious gift. Then came the day when Dad had to go on a business trip. The house suddenly felt quieter, and everyone missed him deeply. They found themselves talking about him and the little things he used to do for them. Finally, Dad returned, carrying a small gift box in his hands. The moment the door opened, the whole family rushed forward and wrapped him in a warm hug. Laughter filled the house, washing away all the longing. In that moment, everyone felt the same way. Dad truly was the best. Weekend baking together. On the weekend, the whole family gathered in the kitchen to bake together. The table was soon covered in flour, eggs and mixing bowls. Everyone rolled up their sleeves, excited to help. Dad carefully measured the ingredients. Mom mixed the batter, and the sister prepared the oven. The little brother tried his best to join in, but mostly ended up making a bigger mess. Before anyone noticed, flour had smudged his cheeks and nose, turning his face white. When he looked up in confusion, the whole family burst into laughter. The sister teased him playfully, calling him a little flour ghost, while Dad pretended to be serious, reminding him to be careful. Still, he couldn't hide his smile, and soon the kitchen was filled with cheerful laughter. Eggs accidentally spilled onto the table, and bits of dough stuck to their fingers and clothes. Yet no one complained. They worked together, sharing small tasks, jokes, and warm glances. The simple act of baking slowly turned into a joyful family moment, full of energy and closeness. As the cake baked, a sweet aroma spread throughout the house, making everyone's stomach rumble. They waited impatiently, peeking through the oven door and counting down the minutes. When the cake was finally ready, Mum carefully took it out, and the family gathered around the table to taste their creation. The cake wasn't perfect, a little uneven and slightly messy, but it was delicious. More than its taste, it carried the warmth of shared effort and family love. That simple weekend baking session became a small but precious memory, one they would all remember with a smile. The sister and her little brother cooked together. In the afternoon, the father and mother went out together to buy food for dinner. The sky was bright and calm, so no one expected the sudden change in weather. They walked through the market, carefully choosing fresh vegetables, meat and fruit, chatting along the way and planning a warm family meal. Halfway home, dark clouds slowly gathered and heavy rain began to pour down. They tried their best to shield the bags with their jackets, but the rain was too strong. Soon the vegetables were soaked and some of the food was damaged. Their clothes were completely wet and they felt a little disappointed, worried that dinner would not turn out as planned. When they finally reached home, tired and drenched, they slowly opened the door. To their surprise, a warm, familiar smell of cooking floated through the air. Soft light filled the kitchen, and inside, the older sister and the little brother were busy preparing dinner together. The sister carefully stirred a pot on the stove, while the brother washed vegetables, dried the bowls, and neatly set the table. Seeing their parents return, the two children smiled brightly and proudly invited them to sit down. The simple meal was already prepared. As the family gathered around the table, the rain continued to fall outside, tapping gently against the windows. Inside, laughter, conversation and warmth filled every corner of the house. What began as a difficult rainy trip slowly turned into a beautiful evening, reminding everyone that love and togetherness can make even the simplest moments feel special. Fixing up a new study. Corner one afternoon, the whole family gathered to fix up a small study corner for the little brother. They wanted to create a cozy and comfortable space where he could read, write, and learn happily. Dad carefully measured the space and began building a small wooden desk, his hands moving steadily with patience and care. Mum went out to choose bright, soft-coloured curtains to bring more light and warmth into the room. Meanwhile, the sister sorted through the books and notebooks, arranging them neatly on the shelves. The little brother stood nearby, quietly watching every small change with curious eyes. He followed each movement closely, his face filled with excitement and anticipation. From time to time, he asked small questions, eager to understand what everyone was doing. The room slowly transformed, becoming brighter, tidier, and more welcoming. When everything was finally ready, the little brother sat down at his new desk for the first time. His eyes sparkled with joy as he gently touched the smooth surface, taking in every detail. Dad smiled and softly patted his head, proud of their shared effort. Mum carefully adjusted the study lamp, making sure the light was just right for his eyes. The sister hung a few small drawings and colourful pictures on the wall, adding cheerful touches to the space. The once ordinary corner of the room had turned into a warm and inspiring study area.
One afternoon, Dad Pig comes home carrying a large box. Dad opens the box. Inside is a brand new remote control toy car. Little Pig hugs the car excitedly. Dad carefully explains how to use the controller. Little Pig starts driving the car around the living room. Big Sister Pig cheers from the side. Little Pig increases the speed. The car heads straight toward the sofa. The car bumps into a table leg and flips over. Little Pig rushes to pick it up. Little Pig looks worried and glances at Dad. Dad kneels down to examine it closely. Little Pig feels guilty for driving too fast. Dad smiles gently and reassures him. Dad uses a small screwdriver to fix the wheel. Big Sister Pig holds the car steady to help. The wheel is secured firmly again. Little Pig tries driving it slowly. This time, Little Pig drives more carefully. Dad suggests playing outside, where there is more space. The whole family goes into the yard. The car runs smoothly across the ground. Little Pig turns to thank Dad. A gift is not just something fun to play with. It is also a lesson about care, responsibility, and learning from mistakes.
Building a mini hot air balloon. A quiet afternoon in the yard. Dad is fixing an old fan. The little brother is playing with a plastic bag, blowing it up and letting it float. The bag rises for a moment, then falls. The boy watches it carefully. His eyes light up. He runs to Dad, points at the sky, then points at the plastic bag. Dad pauses and thinks. Mum and sister look over, curious. The family starts collecting materials. Old fabric is brought out. Colourful plastic bags are stacked together. The fan is cleaned. Tape and strings are spread across the floor. Dad cuts the fabric. Mum sews the edges. Sister measures and writes notes. Brother holds things and passes the tape. Slowly, the fabric becomes a big round shape. Plastic bags are attached underneath. The small fan is fixed at the opening. The sun begins to set. A gentle breeze blows. They carry the balloon to the rooftop. Dad checks the strings. Mum holds the body. Sister prepares a timer. Brother stands ready, eyes wide. Dad turns on the fan. Air flows inside. The balloon slowly expands. It sways in the wind. Everyone holds their breath. Dad releases his hands. The mini balloon lifts, slowly, rising off the ground. Brother jumps with joy. Sister claps. Mum smiles with her hand over her mouth. Dad watches proudly. They bring out chairs, sit together on the rooftop. The sky turns orange and pink. Clouds drift slowly. Cool air flows. Brother leans on Mum's shoulder. Sister rests near Dad. Dad points at the sky. They all look up together. A surprise replacement gift. In the afternoon, the little brother took his ball outside to play. He ran around the yard, kicking it with all his strength. In one powerful shot, the ball flew straight into the fence and suddenly went flat. He froze, staring at the broken ball, his face slowly falling. Not far away, the older sister was practicing badminton. As she swung her racket hard, the handle suddenly snapped. She stopped, holding the broken racket in her hands, letting out a quiet sigh. The two siblings looked at each other, saying nothing, and silently put their things away before going back inside. Their parents had seen everything. That evening, they quietly left the house. The brother and sister stayed behind, wondering where they had gone. The little brother kept glancing at his broken ball, while the sister carefully placed her damaged racket in the corner of the room. A while later, the door opened. Their parents returned, carrying two small bags. The father handed the little brother a brand new ball, and the mother gave the sister a new badminton racket. For a moment, they were speechless. Then their faces lit up with joy. The little brother hugged his new ball tightly, and the sister held her racket with sparkling eyes. The whole family smiled together. In that simple moment, Warmth and happiness quietly filled the house.
Today, the pig family is driving along a quiet country road in their small red car. The weather is warm, and the fields on both sides are bright green. Birds fly across the blue sky, and everything feels calm and peaceful. Little Pig looks out the window excitedly. Big Sister Pig smiles as she watches the clouds drift slowly by. Mother Pig enjoys the relaxing ride, while Father Pig drives carefully and steadily. Suddenly, the car begins to slow down. Right in the middle of the road is a huge rock. Father Pig stops the car and steps outside to take a closer look. The rock is far too big to drive around, and the road is too narrow on both sides. Big Sister Pig tries pushing it gently. It doesn't move at all. Little Pig joins her, pushing with all his strength. His feet slide slightly on the dirt road, but the rock stays exactly where it is. Father Pig pushes hard too. The whole family works together. 1, 2, 3. The rock shakes just a tiny bit, then stops again. Everyone pauses and takes a deep breath. Giving up is not an option. Mother Pig looks around carefully and notices a long, strong branch near the roadside. Father Pig smiles with a new idea. He carefully places one end of the branch under the rock. Big Sister Pig and Mother Pig hold it steady. Little Pig quickly brings a few small stones to help support it. Father Pig presses down slowly and firmly. The rock lifts just a little. Quickly, Little Pig slides a small stone underneath. They try again. Press, lift, roll. Slowly, the rock begins to move. Inch by inch, it rolls to the side of the road. Finally, the path is clear. The pig family cheers happily and dusts off their hair.
On the weekend, the whole family goes to the supermarket. Mom Pig holds a shopping list. Big Sister Pig helps choose vegetables. Little Pig notices the toy section. Little Pig slows down, then stops completely. Meanwhile, the rest of the family turns into another aisle. Little Pig turns around and realizes no one is there. Little Pig pushes the cart around, looking left and right. At the other aisle, Mom Pig realizes Little Pig is missing. Dad Pig quickly heads back the way they came. Little Pig stands still near a shelf, feeling worried. Big Sister Pig spots the familiar small cart. The family finds Little Pig. Little Pig hugs Mom Pig. Mom gently reminds Little Pig to stay close. Dad suggests continuing the shopping together. Little Pig holds Big Sister Pig's hand. The family adds a few more items to the cart. Mom checks the list again. They head to the checkout counter. Little Pig stands calmly this time. After paying, the family walks to the parking lot. Little Pig looks back at the supermarket and smiles. A moment of distraction can cause worry, but staying calm and remembering family advice keeps everyone safe and together.
The Wrong Bus Adventure. One morning, the older sister and her little brother happily set off for school as usual. In their hurry, they jumped onto a bus without checking carefully. At first, everything felt normal. They chatted, laughed and looked out the window, enjoying the passing scenery. But as the bus kept moving, the streets and buildings outside began to look unfamiliar. When the bus finally stopped at the last station, the driver announced the end of the line. Only then did the two children understand that they had taken the wrong bus. As evening approached, the sky slowly darkened. Back home, Mum and Dad waited anxiously at the usual bus stop, but the children never appeared. They tried calling, but there was no answer. Worry quickly turned into panic. Meanwhile, in the unfamiliar city, holding each other's hands, they walked around, unsure of where to go. Soon, they spotted an ice cream cart by the roadside. Tired and hungry, they stopped to buy a treat. After asking for directions, they learned that the train was heading back toward their hometown. The train rolled forward under the glowing evening sky. Sitting side by side, they felt both nervous and hopeful. When the train finally stopped at a familiar station, they jumped off and ran as fast as they could toward home. The moment the family spotted one another, all the fear and tension melted away. Mum and Dad rushed forward and wrapped their children in tight, tearful hugs, overwhelmed with relief and joy. The sister and brother held on just as tightly, grateful to be safe again. The Vegetable Planting Contest. Morning. The backyard garden is filled with sunlight. The soil has been loosened and divided into 3 small beds. The older sister, the younger brother, and Dad stand side by side. Each of them holds a packet of seeds. They look at the garden beds, then they look at each other. Dad signals, "Start!" The younger brother tears open his seed packet, sprinkles the seeds wildly. Seeds scatter even outside the bed. The older sister sprinkles the seeds slowly, evenly, then gently covers them with soil using her hands. Dad sprinkles the seeds very seriously, measures the spacing, sows them one small pinch at a time. The younger brother grabs the watering can, waters with full force. Water splashes everywhere. The older sister steps aside, laughs. Dad waters just the right amount, nods in satisfaction. Quick scene change. A few days later. Another morning. All 3 rush out into the garden. The cabbages have sprouted. The older sister's bed. Round, even cabbages, lush and green. Dad's bed. Big cabbages, neatly lined up, very by the book. The younger brother's bed. Cabbages. Big and small mixed together, growing in crooked rows. Dad signals, time to harvest. The 3 bend down, pull out each cabbage. The older sister hugs her round cabbages, smiles. Dad lifts the biggest cabbage, nods proudly. The younger brother hugs a slightly small cabbage. Mum walks out from the house, looks at the 3 cabbages. She walks around, observes carefully. Mum points at the younger brother's cabbage. The younger brother's eyes widen. Then he jumps up happily. The older sister and Dad look at each other, burst out laughing. The warm pair of glasses. 1. Peaceful morning, Dad began doing the housework. He swept the floor, wiped the furniture. After that, he went out to the garden to plant some new flowers to make the yard look brighter and fresher. But as he bent down to look at the tiny sprouts, everything suddenly seemed blurry. He squinted, blinked a few times and gently shook his head before telling Mom that his eyes were not as clear as they used to be. Hearing this, Mum paid close attention. That afternoon, she went to the shop and bought a new pair of glasses for Dad. When she got home, she handed him the small gift. One day, while Dad was fixing a wooden shelf, the glasses suddenly slipped from his hand and fell to the floor. Dad picked them up and saw that the frame was broken. Without his glasses, his vision became blurry again. He looked at the damaged glasses with disappointment and sadness. Seeing this, the older sister and little brother quickly came over. After a short discussion, they brought some glue and tape from the house, applied the glue and wrapped tape around the frame to hold it in place. After a while, the glasses were not as pretty as before, but they could be worn again. The 2 children proudly brought the repaired glasses to Dad. He put them on, adjusted them slightly, and smiled happily when everything became clear once more. Dad gently patted their heads and thanked them with all his heart. A small trip to the market. In the late afternoon, the whole family went to the market together. The air was lively, filled with voices, footsteps, and the gentle clatter of goods being arranged. Mum carefully chose fresh vegetables, checking each bundle with a thoughtful look. Dad stopped by the fish stalls, comparing sizes and freshness, while the sister wandered around the fruit stands, picking out bright oranges and sweet-smelling apples. The little brother followed behind, his small steps quick and curious, occasionally stopping to stare at colourful candies and quietly asking for a treat. Dad would pretend to shake his head, trying to look serious, saying no at first. The little boy would pout slightly, his eyes full of hope. Then, when no one was looking, Dad would secretly slip a small candy into his hand, making him beam with delight. The sister noticed and laughed softly, while Mum shook her head in amusement. Simple moments like these filled the busy market with warmth and gentle joy. As the shopping bags slowly filled up, their hands grew heavier, but their hearts felt light. They walked side by side through the narrow streets, chatting about dinner plans, school stories, and small things from the day. The sound of their footsteps mixed with laughter and casual conversation, creating a comforting rhythm on the way home. That small trip to the market, with its simple tasks and playful moments, turned into a precious family memory. One made not from grand adventures, but from shared time, gentle care, and the quiet happiness of being together. A day of caring for the little brother. Early in the morning, the little brother woke up looking tired and weak. His face was pale, and his movements were slow. Mum gently placed her hand on his forehead and realized that he had a slight fever. Without hesitation, the family immediately changed all their plans for the day. Nothing mattered more than taking care of him. Mum went into the kitchen to cook a warm bowl of porridge, filling the house with a gentle, comforting smell. Dad carefully prepared warm water and medicine, moving quietly so as not to disturb the calm. The sister sat beside the bed, holding a storybook and reading softly, hoping her gentle voice would help him relax. The little brother lay still, listening to her soothing voice. Now and then, he gave a faint smile, his eyes slowly blinking with sleepiness. Dad patiently fed him spoonfuls of porridge, while Mum wiped the sweat from his forehead with a warm cloth. The usual busy rhythm of the house slowed down, replaced by a peaceful silence and tender care. By the afternoon, he began to feel better and was able to sit up, quietly gazing out the window. Soft sunlight streamed into the room, spreading a warm glow across his face. The air felt lighter, and everyone let out a quiet sigh of relief. Smiles slowly returned, and the gentle atmosphere filled the space once more. In that simple moment, the family realized something precious. Nothing in the world was more valuable than being together, healthy, safe, and surrounded by love. It was an ordinary day, yet it became a memory filled with warmth, gratitude, and deep family affection. A warm family meal. In the morning, Mum went to the market to buy ingredients for the family meal. She carefully chose fresh fish and good cuts of meat, hoping to prepare something delicious for everyone. While she was busy picking and chatting with the vendors, she accidentally forgot to buy vegetables. A while later, as she was busy in the kitchen, Mum suddenly noticed that there were no vegetables in the basket. She hurried to look for Dad to ask him to buy some, but then remembered that he had already gone out. Out on the road, Dad was on his way when his motorbike suddenly broke down. He tried hard to push it forward, but it was too heavy to move. Meanwhile, at home, the older sister and little brother noticed that Mum seemed anxious. When they found out that she had forgotten to buy vegetables, they looked at each other and quickly came up with an idea. They ran to the garden behind the house and picked fresh green vegetables together. Their hands were dirty with soil and their clothes were a bit muddy, but their faces were bright with happy smiles. They hurried back to the kitchen and gave the vegetables to Mum, helping her finish the meal in time. When Dad finally arrived home, still pushing his broken bike, his face showed clear signs of exhaustion and sadness. But as soon as he stepped inside, he was surprised to see a table full of warm, delicious food. The whole family sat down together, sharing laughter and stories. In that simple moment, all the worries of the day faded away, leaving only warmth, love, and happiness around the family table.
The rampaging duck morning. The house is quiet. Sunlight streams through the window. The older sister sits on a chair, reading a book. The younger brother plays with a toy car on the floor. The car rolls back and forth. The back door is slightly open. A duck walks in from the yard. Its claws go tap-tap on the floor. The younger brother looks up, sees the duck, freezes. The older sister turns around, following her brother's gaze. A duck is inside the house. Before anyone can react, the duck jumps onto the chair, flapping its wings wildly. A cushion falls to the floor. The two siblings panic. They dodge and run in opposite directions. The duck jumps down, pecks at the toys. The toy car gets pushed and rolls away. The duck keeps running around the room. The room starts to descend into chaos. Mom runs out from the kitchen, sees the scene. Mom freezes, then holds her forehead. Dad runs in from the yard. Dad stops for a beat, looks at the duck, looks at the two kids. Dad rolls up his sleeves. Dad moves toward the duck. The duck startles, dashes in another direction. Dad chases after it. The duck runs around the table. Dad runs after it. The two siblings press against the wall, watching the chase. The duck jumps onto the sofa. Dad reaches, misses. The duck jumps down again, runs straight toward the back door. Dad speeds up, arms spread wide. The duck suddenly turns left. Dad almost slips, but manages to keep his balance. Dad turns his head, signals Mom to open the door. The back door is flung open. Dad herds the duck toward the door. The duck bolts outside. Dad shuts the door. The house goes quiet. Dad exhales deeply, hands on his hips. The two siblings look at each other, then burst out laughing.
The shared umbrella. The whole family went out together to do some shopping when the sky suddenly darkened. Heavy clouds rolled in and raindrops began to fall, tapping softly on the pavement. Dad quickly opened a small umbrella and everyone squeezed in close beneath it. Shoulders touching, bodies pressed together, they couldn't help but laugh as a light drizzle soaked their clothes. The wind started to blow harder, making the umbrella sway from side to side. Mum held her little son tightly so he wouldn't slip, while the older sister tugged at Dad's jacket to keep him close. The tiny umbrella struggled to shield them all, and soon their sleeves and pant legs were damp. Yet, instead of complaining, they laughed even more, enjoying the strange warmth that came from standing so close together. Raindrops splashed into puddles along the road, reflecting the glow of streetlights. Their footsteps echoed softly as they hurried home, sharing small jokes and playful complaints. Every now and then, a sudden gust of wind would turn the umbrella inside out, making everyone burst into laughter again. Dad would quickly fix it, while Mum teased him for choosing such a tiny umbrella for the whole family. By the time they reached home, their clothes were slightly wet, their hair a little messy, but their hearts were full. The rain had turned an ordinary shopping trip into a small adventure, one filled with laughter, warmth, and togetherness. It became a simple yet unforgettable memory, a moment where a shared umbrella and a sudden rain shower brought the family even closer.